Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a Public Works podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today I got a real treat for you. Her name is Molly Keays, and she is the Director of Parks and Recreation for the Town of South Windsor in beautiful Connecticut. Molly, say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everyone? Happy Monday.
Monday it is. So, Molly, talk us through just kind of the lay of the land of the Town of South Windsor, Connecticut. Kind of, Director in Parks and Recreation. So I would say there's a correlation of how many people are in the town, how many people like stay in the town for like weekends and stuff like that. So tell us what the population is, how many square miles, and you got to give me every single name of every single park that you have in the city. Go.
Whew. All right. So we are actually the fastest growing town in Connecticut. So fun fact there. Yeah, awesome. So we have 27,000 residents currently. So we're not the largest, but we're the fastest growing. And we'd like to say it's not because of just the school systems, but it's also because of the parks and the recreation programs. Yeah. So we, on our end, we're in Hartford County, Connecticut, so right outside of the city of Hartford. Myself, we have 22 full-time staff in my department and 200 seasonal staff, and we oversee 400 recreational programs as well as about 275 acres of maintained open space in town, 39 athletic fields, 18 miles of trails, and over 10 parks.
Wow.
So it's quite a bit. Yeah.
That's an operation for you right there. So let's talk about Molly's kind of foray into the industry. You're 12 years old. You've been doing this for 32 years. So was 15-year-old Molly, did you want to be the Director of Parks and Recreation for the city of South Windsor? Talk us from high school to where you're at today.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in New Hampshire, so in Dover, New Hampshire, Rochester area, so seacoast. And with that being said, I grew up like a YMCA kid for summer camp after school, and then I was playing a bunch of different sports, so like rec basketball, rec softball, swimming, all that stuff. I was a huge camp nerd though, like get me to summer camp, love it, love the passion, love the environment, and the youth development piece. So as soon as I got old enough, I became a camp counselor, and then it was like a whirlwind from there. So every job that I had was related to youth programming, summer camp, sports, aquatics, and I was able to kind of get that blend progressively over the last 12 years. So I've been pretty much everything, if you name it, like aquatics instructor, lifeguard, camp director, led outdoor programs, team building, swim coach, front office for membership base. So, everything. But the stem of it all is truly that I love working with the community and making impact. Like, truly, I get up every single day and I have that strong desire to give back to someone else and provide opportunities and access to programs and outdoor space for those people, regardless of their abilities to kind of be a part of our programs.
Sure. What does a normal day look like for Molly? You get to the office, from when you start to when you're done for the day, what are you doing? Like, are you putting basketballs through hoops? Are you rolling the basketballs out for kids? Are you just on emails and Zoom calls all day? Like, give us a lay of the land of what it looks like for a day in the life of Molly.
Yeah, so anyone that works in Park and Rec, I mean, I think they can tell you that it fluctuates, right? So depending on the season, the day, sometimes I can be in my office at 8 a.m., having a cup of coffee, going through emails, especially if that's, a time that we're kind of going through budget season, or if we're going through like brochure release, trying to like kind of go through all those emails. And other times I'm out at 8 o'clock at Veterans Memorial Pool Park, watching to make sure the operation of the pool covers come off appropriately. So it's just, so it's just every single day there's some unknown factors there. But I think that's what makes it more fun, right? Because you don't know what to always expect. But I do try to have that tactful blend of checking in with my parks guys to make sure they're all set, coming to say hi to them, checking in with my office staff, checking in with my programmers to see like, cool, you got basketball tonight, you got softball tonight. What does it look like? How are the teams doing? Did everyone behave themselves? Just things like that, of that nature. So it's a good blend of things.
Okay. What would you say is like the normal weekend? Because in most parks and recreation, people that I talk to, like the parks get popping on the weekends. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. You might have a festival, whatever. So like is your phone blowing up on a Saturday at 10 a.m. when you're just trying to hang out? Or like is it pretty quiet and you'll get all the huge Monday morning like negative?
Some like I'll go through a period of time that my phone's going off like at all hours, Friday nights, Sunday afternoons, and that's because of whether that's park use, right? So someone's like, hey, so and so is on this field, they're not supposed to be. Where can they go instead? Or something happens at a playground, something breaks, I had to call someone in, or we have just like 3 or 4 different events going on because we oversee the farmers market, concerts, movies in the park, just a variety of things on top of our normal operations. So, I mean, sometimes I'm like, okay, who's calling now?
Yeah, yeah. What's kind of the what's that feeling of, you plan for 6 months, 3 months on an event, it's going off without a hitch, you're there, you can tell everybody's enjoying it. What's kind of that feeling of like, man, like I did this, or we did this?
Yeah, it's always a we did this, 100%. My team, I wouldn't be where I am without my team. They're incredibly hardworking people. Again, nights, weekends, first thing in the morning, whether it's freezing cold, sweaty, they're up and at 'em. They're ready to go. They're enthusiastic. But there's nothing better than kind of like facilitating space where people can connect and play and thrive, right? So you're sitting there and it might be like the most grueling project or event, but then once you see everyone just like connecting and having a great time and just really enjoying themselves, it's just like it puts a smile on your face. It truly does.
Sure, sure. What would be Molly's like moonshot event? Like something that you've seen around it could be around the country, the state, the world that happened. Like it's an event in a park or a festival that you would want to take a stab at. And you might be punching above your weight class, but you would want to take a stab at it, see if you could nail it.
Yeah, so my uncle is actually a director of Parks and Rec in New Hampshire, and he runs an incredible beer and chili festival in New Hampshire. Yeah, it's fantastic, but it's
Okay.
expanded to like beer, like cider, seltzers, so much live music, a lot of craft vendors, and then you can go around and like judge chili like from different restaurants, and it really supports the local community. I want to try that event or something similar because that would just, help the town again, gain more exposure, the economic factor to it. But it would just be such a fun time.
Beer and chili. It's a combination. I never really thought that, might work, but it sounds like it'd be fun. I'm sure your uncle's got it nailed. Let's say you're mentoring somebody and they say, Molly, it's my first day on the job. I'm a Parks and Rec director. Give me one skill set that would help them at being successful at what you do today. What would that skill set be?
So I'm going to say there's two pieces there: active listening and effective communication. So, I mean, it's crucial when you're working with the public and managing diverse groups of people, is to be an effective communicator and an active listener. The strong people skills, right? Like that's something that you're always looking for because the technical experience, you can learn that. But if you're not a good communicator, if you're not empathetic, if you're not actively listening, you're gonna really struggle in a position like this.
Define active listening because I've heard a couple different definitions. I want to hear Molly's. Like, what is active listening?
So active listening is really just sitting there, hearing them say their statements, kind of repeating back some portions of the statement to make sure that you have that clarification. Um, and that's really what I consider active listening, is just kind of
Yeah.
listening to what they're saying, kind of making sure I repeat it or kind of hear back, like, this is what I'm hearing you say, just to make sure that we're on the same page in clarification. And if you're actively listening, you hear those key pieces and you even hear
Mm,
the emotion and the body language that might not be coming out. But if you're
yep.
really reading
Yep.
into it, you're going to pick up on things that maybe you weren't if you were just automatically like, oh, no, 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 that's awesome. I can just give you a refund on this, or I can just find you another field. Like, no, really, what's the root of that problem? Like, are you actually listening to that person?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Um, I'm sure you're no stranger to having an instance or situation where you might be the youngest in the room, or
Mm,
you might be the greenest in the room. But I think I want you to talk to all the youngsters out there in an industry where, let's be honest, like most people are older than us. So how do you navigate that skillfully to where you're not like that, that rebel youngster, but like you can navigate it to where like people respect you and your age, even what you have to bring to the table.
yeah, and I would say to anyone who is younger, that's going into any profession, it's just be confident. Carry yourself with that level of confidence that you got this. You're here for a reason. Like, you're invited to the room, invited to the table for a reason. Whether that's your knowledge, whether that's like your passion, the skill set that you've showed those individuals. And it might be overwhelming and nerve wracking. It has been for me multiple times walking into local settings, national settings when I'm the youngest by 10 to 20 years. However, it's just really taking that moment. Yeah, it's just sometimes, it's just taking that moment and saying, like, hey, age doesn't define position. You're here for a reason. And just remain, tactful with your answers and, put your valuable input out there for people to listen.
Sure. All right, story time. I need a story from Molly. When something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Yeah, so actually, I'm kind of wrapping up a mistake right now. So this is a moment of reflection for me in this sense. So we started a splash pad project in the town. I want to say back in 2022 at this point. So we had this exciting opportunity to the splash pad. We got the funding. We secured the vendor. Um, and then now we're still working on it. And it was supposed to be open last summer. And what really happened was too many cooks in the kitchen. So it's like myself, my park superintendent, my parks manager. You have like some town officials. You have the company that gave us our splash pad project. And then we also have a subcontractor installing it. So many cooks in the kitchen, right? Um, and I had all the best intentions on making sure that everyone was working together efficiently and that everything would be hitting those milestones. So I kind of just gave that one date out on the brochure, out to all the town officials, like, hey, we're going to be open on this date. Can't wait. And then obviously the date passed. People were upset because they were expecting the splash pad. We had all these people, trying to figure out the missing pieces. And we're now going to be opening Memorial Weekend. So it was a mistake that I had to then own to the public, right? Saying like, hey, we're behind schedule. It was because of, some subcontractor issues and some equipment being back ordered. But at the same time, regardless, right? You make a promise to the town. You have all these people doing this work. So I had to go back out and, make this apology, apologize to the people that funded the project. And I learned through this a few things. I learned don't promise projects to be done, and also like right away, have reasonable timelines, right? And then also to remain in the loop with everyone throughout the process. So all of your donors, town officials, keep them up to date at all times. Because if they're in the dark about it and they're wondering why a project's not done, it reflects poorly on the department. So that was like a huge struggle for us. However, now we have a great attainable guideline, like timeline, and we're happy that we're going to be opening in a couple weeks. And we've been
Nice.
updating everyone with photos and just kind of keeping in the loop on a monthly basis. So
Sure.
yeah, that was my biggest recently, an issue that we overcame.
Sure. How hot is it hot enough out there for a splash pad?
For like 2 months.
Okay.
So yeah, so New England, yeah. So we'll be able to use it from Memorial Day until about like the first week of September. Very small period.
Like 18 days.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, what keeps Molly up at night? Like it's 2 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling. Like what's on your mind in regards to work? Parks and recreation that keeps you up.
What keeps me up at night? Whew. Honestly, I just want to make sure that in terms of parks and recreation, that we're kind of maintaining our reputation and making sure that we're able to serve everyone in the community. So I think what keeps me up sometimes is like our community is rapidly changing. And I think about like, okay, are we actually serving everyone? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? And like, how can we be better? So sometimes I start to think of like, oh, really, should we expand into offering high school cricket? Should we be trying to come up with another plan to add more fields? Because I hear that there's more, usage coming on. And then I also think of, hey, how can we expand our summer camp or after school? So my mind's going like a million. Because like at the end of the day, like I want to make sure that we're serving everyone to the best capacity that we possibly can.
Sure, sure. And I'm thankful and happy that you didn't mention pickleball because we have enough pickleball. It's too much pickleball. We don't need any more pickleball. Leave the
We have
basketball
eight
course alone. Leave the
courts.
tennis course alone.
Yeah. 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 We have 8 courts currently. It's very
Okay,
popular. Yeah.
that's enough.
Yeah.
I was talking to another Parks and Recreation manager director, and he made a good point. He was like, dude, people didn't really like value us until COVID, right? Because nobody could really go to the movies, you couldn't go to the malls, couldn't do anything, but you're out in your parks. So what was it like navigating the influx of like at first you have 20 people at this park in a week, now you have 100. What was that like?
Yeah. So our one of our larger parks, Nevers Park, had so much usage. Like you could barely find any open green space. And this is a huge park, mind you. Like it has a bunch of trails, it has fields, a playground. It's massive. We have a dog park, like, etc. And really just trying to navigate how to keep up the maintenance of those trails and just also the trash and just making sure that they had the right services. It was just we were just like, where did all these people come from? So it's just really coming up with a new maintenance plan, because I'm sure you've probably heard before, since COVID, the parks have not seen a decrease. I mean, people are still choosing to spend their free time out in the parks. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really, we've had to learn how to navigate, like, how do you keep up with all this maintenance? Because there's more wear and tear. But it's awesome, right? So we're really excited. We're super blessed to say that we have a outdoor fitness space we're installing because we've seen a lot of people working out outside. So why not give them a space to actually be able to
Heck
attain
yeah.
those workouts while getting that fresh air? So cool projects have come out of it. But obviously our budget doesn't expand when it comes to maintenance. So it's really just looking at, all right, how can we make sure this park still looks beautiful because people want to look around at the scenery and have proper access. So yeah,
Sure,
it's been
sure.
crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are some of your best practices to navigate that? You got more people at a park, means more wear and tear, which means you probably would want more money to be able to throw more dollars at it to keep it up, but you don't have that. Like, what are some best practices to make that happen without more budget?
Yeah, I mean, it's just looking at more efficient ways for operation, right? So it's just we're looking at how many days that we spend at each park. What's the approximate time that we're going to take on every single trail? How long can you make the stone dust last, for example? Just different pieces of that, but also just like the efficiency there. Just making sure that we're being actively efficient because if you're out there maintaining it, you should be able to make things last longer. A lot of
Yeah,
places don't even have the manpower to make sure that parks and recreational facilities are maintained. So unfortunately, you don't actively maintain, you're putting on the band-aids, then it's going to cost you more upfront. So we've been very good about that piece. And then it's also like it's small things like planting certain plants cost less money. So we always make sure of that. So we don't want to compromise beauty or safety ever, but we always are trying to find ways to be more cost effective and efficient.
sure, sure. Who makes the decision whether it's like that rubber stuff versus the tan bark versus sand? Because I have a daughter, she's 3, so we do a lot of parks around here, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like why are they different? Like which one works? just give me the 30,000-foot view. We don't have to go into too much detail, but I just kind of want to know.
It's all budgetary, but there's a fall. Like if you're on a playground, there's actually fall surface requirements. So depending on the height and other factors, you're gonna have to have certain fall surfaces. But a lot of people will
Interesting.
try to, yeah. So a lot of people try to figure out the cheapest and less maintenance option. Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So, how does Molly keep showing up every year, year after year, better and better and better? What's your
Mm.
personal and professional development regimen like?
Yeah, personally, I'm really big. I mean, I'm big on podcasts, and this one in
What
particular is
works
called
best?
"Disrupting Burnout" by Dr. Patrice Buckner Jackson. She's awesome, and that's all on like making sure that you don't fall into the patterns of burnout. Because to be an active professional, you need to be able to learn how to manage burnout because burnout's real. Working with people and managing people.
Humans, yeah.
So yeah, so I think it's honestly for me, it's learning how to be my authentic self, manage that burnout, and trying to find those pieces to help me be more successful in that manner. So it's like for me, I listen to podcasts to better myself. I read books, but I also take time to get outside, go on walks. I go to CrossFit every morning because that piece helps me maintain like my mental health, my composure, so that way I can be a better leader and show up better and more positive every single day. And then in terms of professional development, like at work, I'm a big proponent on attending any sort of webinar calls that we can through our state and our national associations. And I'm also involved. I'm the Young Professional Network chair in the state, and then I'm the chair elect for the National Rec and Park Association Young Professional Network. So I chat with those individuals often. I bounce ideas off of them. They'll send me articles, which is super awesome. And then I'll attend conferences and really lean on mentors as well. So I think there's like a blend, right? So professionally, it's always awesome to go to any possible webinar, meeting, conference, and bounce those ideas off of people. But then personally, you have to be able to take some time to read, listen to new things, and also just take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of
Yeah.
yourself, you're not going to be that leader that shows up for others
Mm,
when they need it.
yep.
So
Are you listening to podcasts in the car, on your walks, at night? Where like when does Molly listen to her stuff?
yeah, usually on walks. So the dog and I will go on a 3 mile walk pretty much every day. Yeah, a mile and a half to 3 miles, depending on the weather, right? But so that's like my time for podcasts. Just get some fresh air and just kind of just focus on the moment and really take in those words.
Gotcha. Gotcha. If you had to do burpees or wall balls for, let's say, 20 minutes, which one would you pick?
Oh, burpees, 100%. Yeah. No, not even. We're doing a burpee challenge. So I'm doing 7,300 burpees this year. So 20 minutes of burpees
What?
would all for a free T-shirt. But
Boy, break that down. Give me the math behind that. You said X amount of burpees and you're
yeah.
20 minutes a day, you said?
No. If I could do the 20 minutes, that would make my goal go by a lot faster. No, it's actually it's 25 burpees a day.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. So it's pretty
Gotcha.
attainable. But just like
Yeah.
things of that, like I love fitness, so fun things like that. But wall balls,
Yeah.
I hate. So you can keep the wall balls.
Did you do the open?
I did do the open. Yeah,
Okay.
that was
How'd you do
was
on
my third
the
year doing it.
how'd you do on the dumbbell snatch? The what is it,
That
first
was
part one?
actually my best one.
Okay.
Honestly, the snatch and burpee. It's a short person workout. I think that's what it was. Truly,
First
truly.
workout. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. I love
yeah.
it. First CrossFitter on the podcast, I think. So I love it.
Ooh, okay, first for everything.
All right, let's say I asked your normal CrossFit, box teammate, you do your little double workout partnership.
Yep.
If I asked her, what does Molly provide to the community? What value does she add? Like, what would she get totally wrong in answering that question? Meaning, I'm asking, what are the biggest misconceptions about what you do for the city, for the community?
Mm. So a lot of people think that this job is just like the TV show, right? They think that it's just a bunch of meetings and going out and, you know, running events. But I think a lot of people would say that they're gonna be like, oh yeah, Molly just leads a bunch of people to make sure that events get done and programs get done. And, it's just like the TV show is what I always get told. And that's just a huge misconception. I mean, again, I'm out talking to, yes, political individuals in town, depending on the day, but I'm also out there connecting with local nonprofits, other departments, whether that's human services, youth services, police department, to make sure that our programs can blend well together and that we're helping each other out. We're the people that are behind all of making sure that the athletic fields are ready, and we're behind the scheduling, and we're also behind the after school and the preschool. So I think when they think of Parks and Rec, it is just a big misconception, right? Because they don't know the full thing of what we do and the essential services that we do provide.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
right?
And then go ahead.
No, just awareness is key, truly. I think just really trying to understand that every park and recreation department offers different services, and some people nationally are doing some really awesome stuff, whether that's like arthritis prevention programming, or heart disease prevention programming, like with walks through the parks, and they partner with hospitals. And they just, I mean, depending on where you are in the country, like they're doing some really incredible stuff in every community. So it's just,
Sure.
and like adaptive sports, for example, that's a part of Parks and Rec. We partner with like the Special Olympics in the community. We also partner with Monday Night Social Club, which is like a special population. So it's things that it's just like making more awareness of what Parks and Recreation does.
Yeah. It's interesting. So in the city next to mine, it's called Glendale. They just started a basketball 3-on-3 like tournament. And it was their first one doing it. They said, hey, your guys are our pilot. We've got requests to do one because a lot of other cities do them. So what's kind of that now, you guys promote an event, but how do you guys listen to the community to say, hey, what do you guys want? Like, what can we do for you guys? And then what's, I guess, some of the requests that cross your desk of things you might want to try in the future that might sound cool?
Yeah, I mean, I think outreach is huge. So really taking the time to listen to your participants, whether it's at events, we always have booths, even when we're hosting things. And we tell people like, hey, we'd love to hear from you. Come chat with us. Sometimes we have QR codes for surveys. And then we also really take the time after every single program to intentionally send those surveys, whether people fill it out or not, yes or no. But those surveys from those participants, and then also the community outreach. Sometimes we'll get phone calls with things. And then it's also like listening at public meetings. So we'll do commission meetings, town council meetings, things of that nature. And it's really, we get a wide variety of people interested in things, right? So it's usually very niche. So if you're big on basketball, you're going to be like, hey, I'd love all this new like open gym time, or, this tournament. So it's just very niche on that. But there's been some cool ones. I think, like, for example, again, cricket's really growing in our community. So people have asked us to, expand by offering some cricket programs, which is super cool. Throw ball is another big sport that people are asking for us to develop. Yeah. So throw ball
What's that?
It's a combination of like volleyball and like handball. So like there's a volleyball net, throwing a ball over it, and you have to catch it on a certain side. It's really cool. I encourage you to Google it. It's very neat to watch. It's a women's sport, which is super neat too. So like some of those programs we'll get requests from. And then there's been some cool, like, people want to do some more cooking classes. So we've been looking into options for adult cooking classes. And then some like outdoor, they want group structured outdoor fitness like classes. So we've been looking into that nature of like, what can we offer outside during the summer months.
What's been like, I remember growing up in my city of Pittsburgh, they had this program through the city, and it was like build a bike. They had a whole bunch of parks. I don't know if they were like stolen or wherever they got these bikes from, the city guys. And they just had all the parts like laid out. They said you could build your own bike, whatever bike you build, you can have it. So I remember going with my And I'm like, this is legit, dude. Like, I got a bike and I built it. Like, that's legit. And they had like a couple guys who knew about how to put them together. And they helped us. But it was kind of like your marquee youth program that, like, hey, keeps kids off the streets and then makes
Yeah.
them, when they're 37 years old, like, think back, man, I remember, Molly did this one program and it was super cool. Like, what would that be?
Yeah, so probably our fourth R after school program is a big one. The kids love the fourth R. We call it the fourth R, like the four R's, like reading, writing, arithmetic, that kind of stuff, and then recreation's the fourth one. So that's a huge one. We have several hundred kids in that program, and they just love being there. The staff that oversee it on a daily basis do like a blend of STEAM activities and theme days, and it just makes them really excited. And then I would think another big one for us is, I mean, it's a normal program, but it's basketball. I mean, basketball is a huge one in our community. Regardless of your age, your ability, your economic status, like everyone gets to come together and play on the weekends. And we're the largest and the longest running program in the area. So we go from the holidays all the way until like mid-March. So it gives them
That's
really
cool.
that opportunity to have that consistency for several
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, I will say basketball does bridge that gap with socioeconomics, race, color, age, like so many different makeups on the court, which I love about it. All right, so let's say you're commissioned to put up a billboard, and this billboard is in the most trafficked area of South Windsor. What ask of your community in regards to Parks and Rec would you want to put on this billboard?
Yeah, so I would say, so my biggest thing right now in town is that our population is growing, but we're at max capacity with what our facilities are at this time. So my big ask for the community would be to support Parks and Rec in gaining a new facility that's actually suitable for our needs, because we have a wait list and we don't want to have wait lists. We want to be able to, hire more staff, have more space, to provide that adequate programming, because more people that are moving to town, they're not going to get the services that they need. And some of them are essential. I mean, swim lessons are essential. After school care, preschool camp, that's essential. So we want the
Yeah.
facilities that can actually hold it.
Sure, sure. It sounds like you've been on the operations side or the maintenance side, coming up through your career. So you kind of know what they're going through out in the field as of right now, like as we speak. So what would be let's say all the community members are listening in, what would be Molly's like advice for the biggest thank you, that pat on the back that a yellow vest, orange vest out in the community right now would want to receive from a community member?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to be out there. And I'd like anyone in our community or any community to take the time to acknowledge the fact that the park that you're walking through, the court that you're playing on, like that has to be maintained and taken care of every day. So leave that area with respect, right? So leave that area with respect. Don't trash it, don't litter it. And also just really take the time to acknowledge and thank them for making sure that all of your areas remain safe and clean, and kind of give them a little bit of grace and empathy instead of yelling when, something's not mowed to your content, or that, oh, the trash is overflowing in this park, it's so disgusting, come on, South Windsor, things like that, of that nature. You get comments like that, but just take a moment to realize that every single facet in your community is maintained by someone who is working really hard, who gets called in for overtime, overnight, weekends, evenings. They might be missing time with their family just to make sure that your stuff is maintained and kept safe. So
Sure.
I want people to kind of like recognize that, be
Yeah.
respectful of that space, and just say thank you.
Sure, sure. All right. I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors you had along your journey. And then also, I want you to give a word of inspiration and motivation to your fellow Parks and Rec, division managers across the country.
Yeah. So there's a few people. Tom Archer, director of camping services over at the YMCA in Manchester, New Hampshire. Grew up with him. He's a fantastic mentor. He taught me to be the youth development professional that I was at one point and still consider myself to be. Harry Rock, who was my former professor at Springfield College. the best motivator. He has the highest enthusiasm, and he lives and breathes what he does. And I think that's important for anyone to, live by, is love what you do. So he's a great guy. And then Chris Nunes, who's a COO in Woodlands Township, he's a great park and rec professional advocate. He's been my supporter since day one, encouraging me. So I appreciate all those individuals professionally. So they're all really fantastic people. There's many more, right? I mean, I think any of us are built by our family and friends and our mentors to get to where you are, and we'll continue to push you to be better in the future. And then words of inspiration. I mean, I like to live by the fact of, don't be afraid to take on new things. Don't be afraid to say no. Every experience, as scary as it may be, or you might be like, hey, I don't really know how to do this. Just dive into it head first, because you're going to gain new experiences. You're going to learn new things, maybe gain a new perspective, and you're going to come out stronger, even if it's a really hard, scary, unknown opportunity. And kind of like lastly, also in terms of inspiration, lead with moments of impact is what I like to also say all the time. Yes, so Lollipop Moments, for anyone who's listening, Lollipop Moments is a great TED Talk, and it essentially talks about being that leader who has and believes that the small moments throughout the day kind of cultivate to make sure that everyone around you is a better person than they were before. So it's all about the small moments, being intentional, being positive, and behaving in a certain aspect that makes everyone better around you. And not necessarily wanting that recognition, but just making sure that people are taken care of and better. So leading in that manner. Yeah.
Okay. Let's say I'm coming to South Windsor, and I text you ahead of time. I say, hey, Molly, where can I go to get the best burger in town? Where are you going to send me?
All right, Red Heat Tavern in South Windsor. So that's over in Evergreen. Yeah, they have a really good Juicy Lucy burger. I know.
Okay.
Juicy quite an interesting name. Yeah. But it's pretty good. Just believe me there.
Okay. All right. Molly, thank you for hopping on the podcast with us today. Thank you for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Molly, any final words before we get out of here?
Hey, just enjoy yourselves. Don't take life too seriously. Just love what you do every single day. And then get outside and enjoy your parks. Parks are essential. Yeah,
100%. Molly, once again, you're the best dressed this week for the podcast. So thank you for, putting some effort into that. This has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you everybody for tuning in.